Okay, sweet. So you're just gonna record like my audio through the... yeah, great. What about my volume stuff? Is it good? That's the only thing. Yeah, okay, I'll turn it up. Yeah. Okay, is this good? Okay, great. Yep, of course. So I'm Jerome LaBelle. So I have my own little like indie game company. I started Honest Road Games, and kind of the first like commercial game I'm releasing is Crash the Core. So that's the game I'm going to talk about today with you. Mm-hmm. Yep. So basically, the main genre that's in is a roguelike deck builder, right? Specifically for this game, I describe it as like a sci fantasy roguelike deck builder with co-op where you are basically run like a spy agency where you gather information about a planet's core location or uncover like a conspiracy, these like planet leaders, and then you basically use the intel you find in the game to win the game. So it's kind of a combination of like a conspiracy kind of discovering game where you gather like intel and get some little clues from a randomly generated kind of mission things, and then combining that with the roguelike battle element to it. So yeah, that's basically the game. Yeah. 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 Well, I think the main thing about saying as like describing as a puzzle game is that I wanted to emphasize like de-emphasize random elements of the game. So it's really like mainly a strategy game, but the idea is that I tried to make it so each sort of little part of the game, like let's say just deciding like which cards to play or which like moves to do in what order, like there's can kind of be like a right way you can calculate how to do it, you know, there's almost always like the best choice. So it's kind of that combination of like I was trying to really strike a combination of having like good amount of like strategic and puzzle elements and like not reinforcing like just kind of randomness in the game. So that's kind of an important part of the design that I had in mind when I was making it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's like enough randomness that I think definitely the cards and the cards that you pick is gonna be, or the cards that you get is gonna give you like some randomness, but there are some cards you can choose. So this is like one specific mechanic I can talk about in the game, like something that actually happens so you can understand is that you have a small deck of cards that you start with, but you get to... Yeah. Yeah, so basically, yeah, how it works is that you can select those like starter cards that you first have. So then every time you start the game, you have already kind of a bit of a strategy going in. But the cards that you see throughout the game are like a bit better, right? So you also are going to have to kind of adjust your strategy a bit depending on the cards you get and, you know, like the enemies that you're going to face a little bit, you know. So that element also goes into it as well. So like you kind of have a bit more, like I said, of a balance of being able to control kind of the cards that you have in your strategy. And but there's still the element of like making each run a little bit unique as well, because there's still the randomness of cards and stuff and enemies. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a good question for sure. Yeah, I know you work on games as well, so you definitely know like that. Yeah, it's not like you just put something in a spreadsheet and it's just like, oh, this card is balanced or whatever. Like it's definitely a long process, like making sure each like also mechanics. Like a huge part of the game was like I spent basically like a whole year talking about it with like my brother. He's kind of like designing it with me, and we're going through it a lot. Like we're both just like playing it together and testing it so much to basically like make sure if we add any new mechanic or a new element to the game that it's not like it's it's not becoming so unbalanced that it's like making the game not fun. I think for me, if I was to describe balance and just answer that question, it'd be what's like a strategy that when you use it, it doesn't feel like, oh, this like is just so good. It's just like I'm just winning with this strategy because it's just so powerful, but it more makes you feel like you're being smart and strategic. And there's no strategies that are gonna that maybe you're forced to use that are so weak that you're just like not having fun doing them. So I think the element of how a player like feels when they're using a strategy is a big part of what like makes it balanced rather than putting numbers in and all that stuff, you know. So that's kind of my philosophy when it comes to balancing stuff. Yeah. 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 Yes, oh definitely, yeah. Yeah, there's yeah, I think the key is you do want to like you want to like create that moment, but yeah, you don't want it to go too far. I'm definitely someone that I love like really powerful cards. Um so like I just want to make cards like really powerful and effective, but I definitely can do it like too much sometimes, and so you kind of feel like it's just like too easy. So I've really been working to like check the numbers and stuff and like stats and some combine some information I actually know like okay, is this like how strong is this card actually doing, or kind of logically think about how good it is. So like I said, it's really like a balance of I do want to create those moments, but I don't want them to feel like you have to pick a certain card or have a strategy to win. So I try to make it a bit more balanced if I can, right? Yeah. Mm. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like, what's the question exactly? Like when I had to adjust? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, so much, yeah. um, there's so let me explain some like actual technical mechanic stuff so you can get kind of an idea of what the game's like. So there's three cards in the game. So it's kind of a simple there's simple familiar concepts, but they kind of each card type kind of takes the concept a little bit differently. So there's ability cards, which are just really standard cards in roguelike deck builders where you just get a card and you can play it, you know, and it does an effect, right, one time. Um, and then, although you can use it like again in a battle if you draw it again, you know, it's just kind of typical roguelike card. So there's another type of card which is a summon card, and how it works is when you play it, you get this like unit on the board, and it's not exactly like it doesn't have like a health bar as much as it has this defense stat, and if you don't attack with that summon, then it's going to instead give you a certain amount of block depending on its defense stat. So each turn, every time you have a summon on the board, you can think like, okay, do I want to attack with it or do I want to defend with it? Um, and then lastly, there's item cards where they have a certain amount of durability. So um, you can put them on the board and they take up the same like slot as summons. You can use them only as much as they have durability, and they cost energy to use. So they're kind of like ability cards, but they have a bit more of a cost. But at the same time, you can kind of be more strategic about when you use them because you have them on the board at certain times. So sort of like one thing is that at certain parts of the game, like certain one of those cards would be way too powerful because like a particular mechanic. Like originally summons actually did have health, but then we just like it just didn't and also I'm pretty sure at one time also items didn't have energy, like little details like that, like that made certain strategies, like items were way too powerful when they didn't cost energy because it was basically like a free ability that you get and you can just use it multiple times. So like kind of figuring out how all the mechanics should work around summon items and abilities like took a while to get it right, but I feel good about kind of the way that those three card types work now. Like they're all pretty balanced together. It's just about getting the specifics down basically. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like three types. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, that actually. So originally, I can tell you a bit of like how the game kind of started. Originally, it was actually this like it was actually a card game, like an actual board game, like RPG game that was like cooperative. That's why like co-op is built in the game, like from the very start, because it was like a cooperative card game that I would like play with my brother for fun, you know, because we like designing games and talking about it. So I just wanted to make a game that I could play with my friends and my brother and just like enjoy that. But then like I kind of as I was doing that I was like, oh wow, as I kind of made better design decisions and iterated, I was like, oh, this game's actually really fun. I started showing people and they enjoyed it as well, so um the original cards like items, summons, and abilities, I was just thinking like, okay, like if you were an RPG, like what kind of stuff would you have? Like I guess you could have like summons or like people that could fight with you. You could have like items that you'd actually like have out, like that you'd be using at that time, and then you'd have abilities. So I kind of just immediately kind of knew that I wanted to have that card variation. There's also like some other types of cards in the game, but I don't know. I don't want to get into all the stuff. There's also like weapon cards you can use every single turn, and like some other cards that you can add like later on that kind of add more RPG kind of elements to the game. So um, yeah, there are some other card types, but those are the main ones that you focus on because I didn't want to have uh, like make it too complicated. So it's mostly just items, summons, and abilities that you can actually unlock. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 So I definitely wanted to like I've been polishing it a lot and I'm still polishing it, and it's definitely going to still be worked on like a lot when it's out. um I'm someone that I can be like kind of perfectionist with it and like really work on it for a long time. I imagine I'll be like updating it like as much as I can, and if there's like things that if there's ever like a problem or an issue with it, I'll probably like get on it and fix it like as soon as I possibly can. But in terms of even like just updating, adding new features and stuff, I definitely want to work on it. Like as long as as long as I have things that I just want to be careful that I'm not just like doing changes or updating things that aren't really making the game better or like really improving our cards that aren't interesting. So um, I'd like to take the approach of like kind of being like slow and steady about making the right sort of decisions with it. So for adding stuff to the game and all that stuff, like it might like take a while to do that, but I do plan to sort of have a game that is going to grow a little bit and be kind of like improve over time, because I want to be like as fun as it can be, you know, even for myself, because I play the game and I enjoy it, you know. So I want to see sort of stuff be added a little bit and it be changed, you know. So yeah, I'll definitely keep working on it over time, for sure. Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah, exactly, for sure. You definitely know, yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, well, that's a really good question. Yeah, yeah. This is a really cool genre. I know that people say that it's oversaturated, and there's definitely like clones that sort of take it and don't do anything interesting with it. But I think it's cool. Like I feel like there's it's cool to see all the different sort of subtle design changes that people make, like with each kind of iteration on it. Obviously, Slay the Spire is the kind of the person that made it like popular and really big, especially on Steam. Um, but like seeing all the cool variations, like Griffland, Monster Trains, like sort of going to RPG element, like going more. I feel like kind of more Magic the Gathering kind of V with Monster Train and like having the levels, and that's like a whole other thing too. Like um, it's like cool to see, especially with like selecting different, like combining different colors and stuff. Like it's cool to see people take it and like all sorts of little directions and kind of like do their own little thing with it. I would say for this, for me, I want to take it in the direction of feeling kind of more, you know, like it kind of goes with the idea of it being like a secret agent sort of thing, like kind of a bit more of a, like every time you go into like the game, you kind of like it's there's like a bit of a sense of mystery and you're trying to unlock stuff and like figure things out, you know. um I think that's something that is like maybe like a little bit different. Also, the kind of the co-op element of like doing that with someone else, trying to figure things out with that person. So um, I think that's kind of the slight different variation that I'm going with on that idea. Uh, yeah. Mm, yes. Yes, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. This was awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah.
This episode is partially brought to you by the Humble Choice Program. Did you know Humble Bundle has a great monthly subscription service that lets you get a ton of video games every single month? That's right, from plans range from $5 to $20 a month, you get a hold of a bunch of free games they have available to you. And you can use our code down in the description below to go and sign up. It would help our podcast and help you see what great games are available for you this month.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interview episode. It's me, AJ. I have got Johannes from Festival Tycoon with me
Hi
here.
there.
I guess I'll do my summary of what this game is, and then I'd love to hear what you think of it. This is, to me, this is SimCity meets Burning Man, or take your pick of music festival. Um, I gotta say, it was playing through it. It is um, interesting in a very good way. It's, to me, it was just not a greatly explored uh, situation. Um, so yeah, I guess did I don't know. Did I describe it in the?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm Johannes. Thanks for having me here on your podcast. Yeah, I would describe it pretty similar. I usually say it's Roller Coaster Tycoon, but with a festival instead of roller coasters. Yeah, I think it's pretty unique because it has those two parts. You mentioned you played it, so you know there's the build part and then there's the live part. That's probably the most unique thing about it. Don't know. But yeah, I think you got the core concept pretty well.
Yeah, the I found it really interesting the way that as you say, there's the two stages, like planning everything out and then watching it happen. Which to me, it's interesting that you did that because you basically made the game the way that I play, like city builders and things like that, where I start the game, immediately pause it, do all the stuff that I need to do, and then let it go. I don't do it in like real time or whatever. So
Yeah,
I'm when I was going through it, I'm like, okay, this guy plays games the way that I do. I have a feeling.
yeah, exactly. I played a lot of City Skylines, for example, and when starting a new game, I think it takes 2 to 3 hours before I actually unpause the game for the first time because road network and so on and so forth. And this is pretty similar actually, but this was in the beginning when I started developing the game. This was a pretty tough decision actually to make because I felt like it just wouldn't make any sense to have this planning phase of a festival simultaneously with the live festival, because this in real life it's split apart by a year or two probably at bigger festivals. Smaller ones probably not that much, but it just wouldn't make sense from a real life perspective to have those two parts in one, like your typical Tycoon. Roller Coaster Tycoon, where it makes a little bit more sense, I think. And this was pretty hard for me actually to figure out because it's very unusual to a game, I think, to a Tycoon game. And what's interesting as well is that it's basically, for me, it's making two different games, because in the live part, you're not just watching, you're dealing with all the problems happening in the live part. And this is pretty much a different game I'm making compared to the build, the Tycoon part of the game.
Well, and as you mentioned, you're managing the live part, but I thought it was interesting that you have it set up to where, look, once you let this go, that's it, right? You're kind of you're restricted in a major way, in the sense that once you hit the second phase,
yes, exactly.
You're in the second phase. You're not kind of hopping back and forth between it.
That's another very tough decision, to be honest, because it's kind of restrictive. So you build a festival, you hit the start button, and there is no going back to the build mode. And you can, at the moment, you can't do anything like building or moving or placing new buildings, fences, I don't know, gates. You can't do anything of that. You can open gates, for example, or close them to let different types of people through and so on and so forth. But you cannot add additional fences in the live part. This is, for example, something which might change a little bit in the future, because in a real festival you could add another fence while the festival is running. But for example, you can't just set up another stage. That's just too much work. So I might soften it up a little bit to not have it that restricted. But on the other hand, I kind of like how it is at the moment, that it's really very unforgiving if you misplace something. You just have to learn from your experience and improve in the next season. So I don't know. I get feedback from both directions, so it's hard for me to. But I'll find out in the future, I guess.
I mean, for me, I guess it's, you mentioned like the fences and things like that. Like, I have no problem with those being, I guess, changeable through the whole thing, because as you say, that's, festivals can call up a fence company and be like, hey, we need half a kilometer more fence.
Yeah, makes sense. That's true.
Whereas, yeah, you can't exactly call up a stage rigging company and be like, hey, we need another 3 stages tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the idea behind it. So as I said, I might make it a little bit more easy to do something like this in the build mode, in the live mode. Sorry. But yeah, we'll see. At the moment, I'm focusing more on making sure that the live mode, once the festival started, is actually that it's very hard to get the correct mix of watching your festival happening, like watching bands on stage and watching people having fun and so on and so forth. While on the other hand, you have to do something as well. It's not just watching a movie, but it's more interactive than that. Because I don't know, for example, food booths are out of stock, or toilets do have clogged pipes or something like this, or stages breaking down. Things like that happen during a festival, and you have to deal with it. I mean, you can hire staff to do it, but someone has to do it, and if you don't have staff, then you have to do it yourself. And finding the correct mix of things to do and just watching what's happening is very hard, because there is a wide range of players out there who like different approaches, basically. And that's something I'm working on quite a lot at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as a moderate fan of these types of games, these kinds of city builders and management tycoons, I don't know. I feel like if we're on a percentage scale, for me, when things are going, I like to, like, 75-25, sit back and watch stuff happen, because it's not, to me, there's stages, right? And so once I go live, I'm watching what I did play out. I'm not trying to interact with it necessarily.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it sounds like you're really trying to. That's got to be the hardest part for balance wise, I'd imagine. Like, okay.
Yes,
How
it
do I
definitely
figure
is.
that out? Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is, because there's, as I said, it's a pretty wide range of feedback I get. I get feedback from people saying, hey, it's way too much to do in the live part. And then I get feedback from people saying, hey, why is the live part so boring? And a lot of it comes down to how good you plan your festival. So if you make a pretty good festival, then you won't have to do as many things in live mode, because everything's working smoothly. But if your festival really sucks, basically, then you will have a very stressful and very, very, you will have to do a lot of things in live mode. And this is something which I can't really, I can restrict events happening or things like that, but I can't tell players how to build their festival. So this is something as I said, I'm investing quite a lot of time in making sure that this is as balanced as it can be.
So I guess we should probably get to the festival part of it. How did you come up with the names for the bands?
That's at the moment completely randomized.
Okay.
It's basically 2 sheets, two files with, I think, 1,000 names or things like that, 1,000 words basically. And it's just an algorithm picking words. It's not perfect. There are a couple of things which are kinda yeah, a bit rough at the edges, I'd say. But I have a plan of allowing players to load their custom names in the future, so that you can, for example, just load or rename bands. For example, renaming bands is already in there in the game. So if you're not happy with a name, you can just rename the band to whatever you like. I just won't add actual existing names from my side because of licensing and stuff like that.
You can't do it, but that's not to say, oh, hey, we have the rename feature.
Yeah, exactly. That's just, I mean, yeah.
My favorite feature for a developer to be like, look, we're not doing it. Not saying you can't.
Yeah, basically that. For example, all the music in the game everything is made by us, by I have 3 sound designers working for me. And the music is completely streamable and everything like that, because this is very important, I think, and we made sure from the beginning that it will be. So you can use it on Twitch or YouTube without getting any problems with licensing, for example. And I don't think that YouTube will ever have a problem with someone naming their band Led Zeppelin, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, YouTube's algorithm only cares about what it sounds like. It doesn't care what it says on the screen. So
yeah.
It's funny though that you mentioned that it's fully algorithmic, because there were some of them that was like, okay, is this supposed to be a reference to like some 80s bands or some bands in Europe or things like that? Because it seemed like, okay, it was 2 words that were like, okay, this seems like a reference, but then there were others that I would look at it and be like, okay, this just looks like he hit a random generator for 2 words. And
this is a bit of a problem, because some words work very well together. Some words are perfectly nice, and as you said, they seem kind of wanted in that way because of a reference and things like that. This is pretty nice, but the problem is that some words just don't work together. In the beginning, I had just generated band names, but this was obviously very restricted because they were pretty repetitive. And then I switched to this new system, which isn't perfect either, but I think it's good enough for now. I will probably remove a couple of words which I know already that are problematic at some point. And for example, I just took a word list from somewhere I found on the internet, and there were all those swear words in there. And in the beginning, all the bands were names which weren't pretty under 18, but that's fixed, for example. So
I mean, it could be kind of funny if you had like a secondary list of like, okay, this, you have like, okay, this festival is all ages, this festival is 18 plus, and then if it's in the 18 plus, it generates names from, a restricted file or something like that. But I can definitely see how that system, especially if it's just, if you're, as you say, you're taking lists off, like, generated lists that are out there, I could see how suddenly, oh, the internet is a terrible place, so you're gonna have like homophobic and racist and like a lot of not great words on these lists that
that's true,
that suddenly populate into the game. But that's, as you say, that's stuff that you need to monitor. But so what's the roadmap for this? As I played it, I believe you had mentioned that it's like an earlier build, but to me it seemed like it was kind of feature complete. Like a lot of the stuff was in there.
So you played a version which is a month old or something like this, 3 weeks or something like that, I think. It's more or less feature excuse me, it's more or less feature complete at the moment. Roadmap wise, there will be an early access release this year. In terms of features, there are a couple of tiny things coming still, like for example, I don't know, patrol routes for workers, things like that, and then yeah, a couple of quality of life improvements and stuff like that. But other than that, we are approaching a kind of a very, very, very rough release window for early access, without a date or anything set yet. This is just in our heads for now. But yeah, so afterwards there will be early access. There is no roadmap for this at the moment. We're just working on it and checking how we will design the early access phase, basically. But yeah, other than that, there is a frequent tester program on my Discord server where you can test versions. It's pretty limited. It's just 10 people at the moment, I think. But they are testing the current version, the current build, the latest, basically, and giving feedback, a lot of things. Missing, for example, sprites, I don't know. And bug fixing is a lot of what I do at the moment. So it's really in a final phase, I think, for now.
I guess, you mentioned that you're where you're at there for the, I guess, build plate. I guess, yeah, that's the best word that I have for it. Where you're actually making stuff, because it's cool. You kind of have it as like a mosaic where you have your build plate, like, I guess, and then that's kind of just there. Are you thinking of doing themed ones in the sense of like, okay, this is reminiscent of Burning Man, this is reminiscent of Glastonbury in the UK, this is reminiscent of Rocket the Ring, things like that?
So we do have the festival Tycoon will offer different locations where you can build your festivals, and those locations will have a theme to it, which will probably be a couple of them. I won't give it away with what this is now at the moment, but they have a theme to it, which is kind of a reference to existing festivals.
Okay.
But other than that, there will not be an entrance gate with the Glastonbury, for example, logo on it or something like this.
Yeah, not.
Although
not necessarily I'm like this is Glastonbury, but like maybe just the coloring of the fields or whatever, like
yeah,
things like that.
Yeah, in terms of that, there will be at some point. This is not something which is necessarily in early access, because I don't know if we can make it, if we can finish it until then. But for example, there will be a location editor where you can just create your own locations. Those can be colored in any color you want, for example, so you can create your very custom Glastonbury. And at some point, this is again future talk without any schedule or not even sure if it will be added. But for example, adding your custom sponsor logos and adding your custom festival logos and things like that, so you can really personalize it as much as you want. We'll see how far we get in this regard, but this is something I'm looking into, at least. Yeah.
I guess if you're just looking into it, I was going to ask if you're thinking of like workshop support or just like
yeah, I mean,
I'd or something like that for that. But if you're just looking into it, you're probably not. You're not at the stage of, hey, we're gonna implement workshop support so you can have.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to add it, and I'm pretty sure at some point I will add it, because it would add a lot to the game, I think, especially with locations. One thing I can say with basically certainty at the moment is that you will never be able to share music on the Steam Workshop, because this is just a bit too problematic in terms of licensing problems and copyright. So you won't be able to share your music through the workshop and download new bands, for example. This is something which will just not be possible. But other than that, yeah, I'd love to add workshop support, obviously, because it adds a lot to it. Especially a single player offline game is pretty important to have something like this, I think.
Yeah, there's as it stands, there's not, it feels like there's nothing restricting the creativity of your fan base. What they can make their game be whatever. It's not like a fully online multiplayer thing where it breaks unless everybody has the right version of this art asset or something or things like that. But
no, that's absolutely not the problem here. Yeah.
It was definitely fun though, playing through it and like, okay, let me just bulldoze everything so I can start from scratch, and then I'll add in trees and bushes and things like that, because I was like, I just want to explore, and I was able to do that, and I had a blast playing it because it was very much the okay, if I was going to make a festival, what bands am I signing?
Yeah.
In terms of genres and things like that. And the festivals that I've been to, what music, how does the music really make them work? Or is it name recognition alone that makes a lot of these festivals work? Or is there something in between that you could potentially figure out and exploit? So that was my whole time playing. It was okay. Quick design, the layout, quick and dirty. We'll figure it out. And then it was okay. Bands, who can I afford? Who would work well? Things like that.
Did you play in sandbox or in career mode?
I started in career just to figure out the. You have a tutorial in there, so I was like, I should probably figure this out. At least kind of what are your basic mechanics that you're going for? Because I don't want to just hop in and be like, this is a Tycoon game. I know how these work, because I have been burned plenty of times by just hopping in and going, I don't need the tutorial.
That's my usual approach. But
and then I went into Sandbox and made my own little thing. So.
That's great. I usually, when I play games like this, I most of the time only play sandbox mode, or like unlimited money or something like this, because I love the planning aspect of everything, and I'm actually not too much into the management part in terms of financing stuff and things like that. But yeah, I think in Festival Tycoon, with the season mechanic, like you have those seasons and it's progressing over time. I like that actually a lot. I usually play more in career mode in my own game.
Well, it sounds like you're doing it right then. If you can make yourself
a
fan of a feature that you never use, I feel like that means that the feature works pretty well.
Oh, hopefully.
And yeah, I am definitely the same way with these games. Like, my City Skylines games are filled with assets from the workshop and money turned off and all viable areas.
Yeah. Me too. I love detailing stuff and then spending 3 hours on an intersection. It's great.
Yeah, it's okay. How do I want to zone this? Well, I want to have like a downtown, so high density. Then I need subdivisions, and yeah, that's
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy in those, and it kind of carries over to this in the sense that there's nothing telling you how to place things.
Yeah, and this is very on purpose. This was in the beginning. I usually, what I, for example, don't really like is when a game is very restrictive in terms of you. For example, in Festival Tycoon, you can't unlock buildings by I don't know, experience points or something like this. You can just place them, and they are unlocked all the time, but they might be very unprofitable for you, or just too big for your festival. But I really don't like this idea of you have to unlock something, especially in a Tycoon game, because it just doesn't make sense. It's there. Why can't you place it if it's existing? I mean, if you have something like a research mechanic where you have to research certain things, this would probably make more sense. But unlocking buildings, for example, isn't something I wanted to add from the beginning, because I feel like it just doesn't make sense. You should be able to add everything you want, and just it might probably not work out because you make huge losses because of it. But I really like the freedom of being able to play how I want, and making use of everything the game has to offer. This is something I really like, and this is the reason, for example, why there is no unlocking in this game.
Well, I guess so. We should probably though explain. I say you can place the buildings wherever you want. They do have like a sphere of influence.
Yeah, true.
So
True.
You can place them
Yeah.
anywhere, but they may not do anything because they're,
Exactly.
they're-
Yeah, exactly.
the RVs
And
are in the one corner. Well, guess what? The stages are in the other corner, and the spheres aren't big enough.
Yeah, exactly. For example, if you place a backstage RV too far away from a stage, what can happen is that the bands take so long to the stage that their shows get delayed. Things like that. This will just lead to an unhappy band, basically. But yeah, things like that. Or for example, there are a couple of pretty huge buildings in the game, like the medium stage is pretty big, or there's a bumper car arena. Those are pretty big buildings and will not make sense on small to medium maps, I think. But you can place them. They're insanely expensive. If you place them in season 1, you will probably go bankrupt immediately. But you can do it, and it might be good for you. I don't know. But I don't want to restrict it to having at least 20 experience points to get access to them, because in real life there are no experience points. It's just you planning. And this is what this is what I wanted to deliver, basically.
The only experience points in real life are $100 bills.
Yeah, more or less.
Well, Johannes, thanks for joining me. It was great to talk about Festival Tycoon. And
Yeah.
as you
Thank
say,
you so much.
there's no date yet for early access, but you can wish list it on Steam and check it out there. And I imagine with how this game is, it's probably PC only.
Yes.
I don't see how this game could work on a console, but yeah.
Yeah. It's PC only at the moment. And it's Windows only at the moment. But yeah, other than that, I don't know, there's no port planned at the moment, no.
Sorry,
But yeah.
Linux and Mac fans. There we go. Got the word out eventually.
Kind of sorry. Yes, indeed. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. Thanks for this opportunity to talk about the game. It was a pleasure to meet you. And yeah, please wishlist it if you haven't. Thanks.
This podcast was a production of the SWW Show. To learn more, go to theswwshow.com. Remember, you can follow the show on Twitter at the SWW Show. You can follow me at Mikey_Maroney. You can follow AJ at LowSeatBoy. Remember, new episodes premiere on Friday, 9 a.m. Central Time on anchor.fm/SWW and podcast services around the globe.